Ladies and gentlemen, prepare yourselves. Come what may, it's time to knock on truth's door. Sportsman! Finished with processing the bloody letter, sir. Alright! Let me take a gander and pass it here! Whoop! Okay, looking good! You there! Take good care of this! Well, it isn't Detective Gumshoe! End of the line for you, Portsman! We got you now! Call off your dog, Mr. Edgeworth. Is this some kind of joke? It's no joke. We know, Mr. Jock Portman, that you are a guilty party in this case. You must be pretty upset, getting chased out of your own room. I'd be mad too. So I guess you can stay, if you promise to stay out of our way. You intend to hide your crime for the guise of the prosecutor doing his job? I can see right through this unsightly paper-thin mask you wear upon your cowl. Who would have ever thought it would come to this? Actually, come to think of it, your mentor was Manfred von Karma, right? The legendary prosecutor who never lost a single case for 40 long years. But there was always this incessant chatter about forged evidence for that guy. Really teaches me, then, that I've got to stay on the lookout for false accusations, you know? Are you done trying to play mind games with me, because they won't work? The only thing you should be using that mouth of yours is is explaining yourself. Although that too will only dig a hole deeper. Either way, your game is up. Well, aren't we full of ourselves, even though you've yet to prove anything? I have no idea what sort of harebrained idea you have in your mind, but there's a mountain of evidence that points away from me being the culprit. Besides, how, may I ask, do you propose I unlocked your door and got into here? Look, I feel bad doing this to you, but I got work to do, so we're done here. Sorry, but we are not finished yet. Boy, you're stubborn. I suppose you're basing your accusation on something? I'll show you what I'm basing my accusations on, with evidence. I have no idea what sort of harebrained idea you have in your mind, but... Hold it! My accusations is a harebrained idea, is it? You tell me. I'd say it is. After all, there's a mountain of evidence points away from me being the culprit. Hold it! Oh? And what, pray tell, kind of evidence are you talking about here? Jim is my partner, so you can't say I had a motive for killing him. And? That's it? That's not even an anthill, let alone a molehill, and not alone a mountain. But it's more than enough, wouldn't you agree? Might I recommend that you review that word evidence, what the word evidence means? It doesn't change the fact that the evidence doesn't point to me as the killer. Besides, how, may I ask, do you propose I unlocked the door and got in here? Hold it! Unfortunately, I believe I have already shown how earlier. Your speculation means nothing, and I still insist I could not have gained access to your room. What should I do now? Should I raise an objection? Yes. You claim to have had no way to open my door. However, is that really the honest truth? Alright, I'll humor you. Go ahead, shoot! Very well, then, I propose that you use this to open my door. The master key! Take that! I believe you were able to open my office door, with the master key no less. Objection! Wait, hold on for a sec. I never laid a finger on that key, as you already know. Precisely. You're able to open my door without lifting a single finger. Well, maybe you did, but only to direct it. That's right. You used your finger to direct this person to open my door with that key. Miss Maggie Bird! You had to ask Miss Bird to open your own office door for you, yes? Yeah, I kind of forgot my key at home. It happens a bit too often for my taste, you know? But the room you had Miss Bird open at the time was not your own, was it? What? You have quite the imagination. But why don't we ask the girl herself whose door she opened, shall we? I'm certain it was Mr. Portsman's door, sir. I checked the number plate to make sure it was opening the right door, sir. See, Miss Bird backs up my story. Yet, if you had misled her, to fool her into thinking what you wanted. How do you suppose I did that? By switching the number plates on our doors, for example. That's right! They do slide out pretty easily. Furthermore, you then use one other thing to give a very strong impression. That the door she was opening was yours and not, in fact, mine. I could tell what she used to make it. What she used was the hoop! Take that! What? The basketball hoop, sir? It's quite a peculiar fixture to have in the hallway, let alone in a hallway in this building. Which is why it has left an unusually strong impression on you. It's an object perfectly suited to sit just outside the office of a peculiar prosecutor. That's very true, sir, because there was a basketball hoop sitting there. I thought the door I was opening had to be Mr. Portman's. There are signs of the hoop had been moved. Sit it in front of my office, to be sure. I see. So that's how you throw suspicion on people. Thanks for the tip. But I think your conjecture is a little off in the racetrack. And I'm willing to listen. And now you're just spouting nonsense. I had the girl open my office door. After that, I was in my room the entire time. You don't have a single reason to suspect me. So he intends to claim his innocence at the end, does he? I'm the pure and innocent as my jacket. And Miss Bird is as dirty and guilty as the jacket she wears. My jacket's not dirty, I'll have you know. I just washed it yesterday. Please calm down, for I intend to show who is the one truly covered in slime here. Oh my gosh, that's a good... Edgeworth through these one-liners. Now you're just spouting nonsense. Hold it. Nonsense, you say? Yes, because I'm telling you the truth here. I had to go open my office door. Hold it. Using the master key, of course. Sure, you have a problem with that? That is what the master key is for, right? Perhaps we should place it in the elaborate labyrinth of some sort of people like you. After all, I was in my room the entire time. Hold it. And what were you doing in your office? I was doing my usual training regimen. Training regimen? Were you going through the law books from start to finish? Mainly batting practice and some weights. Oh, and I jog when I get the chance. Wow, must be the buffest prosecutor we have. With the weakest legal muscles, it would seem. I was doing my usual workout, so... You don't have a single reason to suspect me. Hold it. I think I'd given you quite a few reasons, actually. Objection! But none of those would stand up on their own. Objection! Then what about all the evidence? Objection! It's all circumstantial. No judge would convict on such flimsy evidence. He seems to be trembling a little. One more little push is all I have to do is find the flaw in his testimony. Now you're just spouting nonsense. I have to go open my office door. You in fact did not do that, because after all, this is your door. Objection! I had your door dusted for prints. My door? What for? Come on, I bet you didn't find anything. You sure is good at wasting time. You're right. I didn't find a thing. And definitely not Miss Bird's fingerprints. Her prints? What do they have to do with anything? Let's put it this way. If she really was the one who opened your door, then her prints should naturally be on the doorknob she touched. Further, all the prints on my office's doorknob have been wiped clean off. I can only assume it's because Miss Bird's fingerprints were on it. Objection! But it doesn't change the fact that it was my room the entire time. Was that really a fact? Or was that fiction? Hey, why would I lie to you? I have here proof that you were not in your room the entire time as you claim. This note. This is a note that the victim left for you, Mr. Portsman. A note? It was left under your door. Or did you not notice? And right here it says, but you're out. You were not in your room when the victim came to call on you. So then where were you and what were you doing? Don't you think it's time you gave up your charade? We know you stole into my office with the intent of stealing something from me. And Detective Faith found you out. Possibly because he heard sounds coming from a room whose occupant was on leave. Mr. Portsman, you killed Mr. Faith to silence him. And I had the misfortune to return when I did, and you had to threaten me as you escaped. And I said, when you had the gun to my back, no one gets away with committing murder in my office. Well, just what's so funny, pal? Well, that looks a stiff seriousness on the face of his office's finest prosecutor. When he makes a big mistake and accuses me of simply too much to bear. And that's just for nothing else like it in the world. What? That was just explained it all and even backed it up. You're the murderer. Stop trying to be slippery and just admit to the crime already. And as I said earlier, it's also circumstantial, so full of conjecture. You say you checked my doorknob for prints? Well, I can really confess that I had wiped that knob down well. I'm a little obsessive compulsive, you see. I didn't want to touch a doorknob that you had touched. Which is why I wiped the doorknob down as soon as I could after you opened the door. After that, it makes perfect sense that only Jim's and my prints will be on there. You made that up just now, didn't you? Furthermore, as for the note Jim left for me, do you know exactly when that was? All we know, he could have left it there before I arrived at the office. Like early evening, for example? Are you saying you failed to notice a note in your doorway? Hey, even geniuses fail at times. I was probably too preoccupied with work-related matters. Although that's no excuse. That's just a flat-out lie. There's no way you didn't notice the note that size. Ah, but you can't prove that, can you? Say something, Mr. Edgeworth. Back me up here, sir. Portsman makes a good point. I can't prove that he simply didn't overlook it. Besides, I have an airtight alibi. Airtight, you say? I only realized that I had one just now as we were talking. I guess it would have been better for all of us if I had told you sooner. I'm listening. If memory serves, you came back to the office at around 2 a.m., correct? And it was then that you had just that unfortunate confrontation at gunpoint with the culprit. But exactly at that time, I was down in criminal affairs. Ask around, I'm sure the other detectives will corroborate my story. That's a perfect alibi. Do you really think it's that perfect? Like I said, I don't care. Ask all around all you like. You'll see for yourself. Detective Gumshoe. Sir, I'll go check out his alibi, sir. Be right back. Mr. Edgeworth, sir, I think we're in trouble. It's just like Miss Portsman said. The guy down in criminal affairs said they saw him around 2 a.m. See? All the evidence points to him being the culprit. So there must be a contradictory point of his alibi somewhere. If memory serves, you came back to this office around 2 a.m., correct? Hold it! You are correct. It was around 2 a.m. Are you sure? It's really important to me that you're spot on with the time. I remember checking my watch then, and make no mistake, it was 2. Oh, giving testimony like a pro. Okay, so you came back to your office at 2. And it was then that you had that unfortunate confrontation at gunpoint with the culprit. Hold it! It is as you say, however. Yes, however, you're the only one who claims you bumped into the culprit. So tell me, did you see the person's face? Who was it me who you saw? It was pitch black, so I couldn't actually see. Objection! Oh, come now. I'm sure you saw something. Try a little harder, why don't you? I'm beginning to feel like I'm the one being interrogated here. Oh well, doesn't matter if you remember or not. It only matters that you ran into the culprit. But at exactly that time, I was down at Criminal Affairs. Hold it. So you pay the Criminal Affairs Department a visit? Yep. Right after I left the prosecutor's building, I headed straight for the precinct. Ask around. I'm sure the other detectives will corroborate my story. It's a perfect alibi. Hold it. Well, we did go and ask around to confirm your testimony. And that was just what I said, right? Yes, sir. Number of detectives said they saw you around at that time. See, I was the perfect alibi. It's the ace I had up my sleeve. Impossible! He actually does have the perfect alibi! What's wrong? Why a sudden sullen look on your face? Can't you say anything back, Mr. Edgeworth? I think we reached the end of the line as it's time to get off this crazy train. You there. Sir. Please escort the young lady out, but remember, be gentle. Maggie! Detective Gumshoe! Is there nothing I can do? There must be a way to turn this situation around. If I only had a clue. Did I miss something that can help me cast doubt in his alibi? I need to calmly think this through one more time. With logic. Do I have any logic left? I do. Intruder I met could not have been Portsman. Who could have been? Court rearranged. Intruder I met wasn't Portsman because of his alibi. But the culprit rearranged my files twice. Can these link? Is there a link between these two? Evidence points to the shelves being disturbed once before and once after the murder. But who is to say that the person who did it the second time is the same as the first? Which could mean that there was another person who paid a visit to my office tonight. If there was a third person, then that would explain the other handgun. If indeed there were two culprits, then that resolves the contradiction behind our murder weapon. Despite the fact that there were two bullets here in this room, the murder weapon only shows sign of being fired once, leaving the possibility that the other bullet was fired from the other visitor's gun. Furthermore, if we suppose that the second of the culprit's gun was the one that was pointed at my back... Objection! Mr. Portsman, it seems that I need to amend my assumptions regarding this case. Great! So you finally come to your senses. Mr. Edgeworth! Sir, what are you saying? This has been a big misunderstanding on my part from the start. I had assumed that the person I ran into was the killer, but that may not be the case. What do you mean? The person I ran into was just an average thief. A thief? But, sir, doesn't that cause some sort of contradiction in the facts? Not at all. It simply means that the killer was someone else. And that means it was in actuality two culprits stolen my office tonight. What do you mean two? It explains both why my shelves were disturbed twice and how there were two guns. Mr. Portsman tricked Miss Bird and gained entry into my office. Objection! Now you're just leading the argument. You still don't have any actual proof, you know. If you could please go on along with my hypothetical scenario for now, Mr. Portsman. In the end, if you really are innocent, you should have nothing to worry about. Now then, returning to my scenario, Mr. Portsman was out to steal something from me. Which is why he checked my secret safe and ransacked my shelves. This is the first time. So then, this would have been when the files were put back in the wrong order, right? Correct. And then, just when he was about to look somewhere else, who should walk in but his own partner, Mr. Faith? But why did Mr. Faith come into your room, sir? He probably had business with Mr. Portsman, which is why he was in the area. But that's when he noticed sounds coming from my office, would be my guess. Oh, because you were supposed to be awake, right? He must have thought it was odd, because he came in the office to check it out. Correct. And as the detective, that was the right thing to do. But when he came in, he found his own partner standing there. Because it was Mr. Portsman. Mr. Faith probably let his guard down. But Mr. Portsman was not so merciful as to let him leave alive. He waited for a chance to stole Mr. Faith's gun from him, and then he killed him. He silenced Mr. Faith for catching him in the act of stealing. This was the moment in which the first shot was fired, and one that landed in my files. Following that, Mr. Portsman wiped the gun down and left it behind as he made his exit. He could afford to do that because he had also left behind the fake dying message behind. You're such a complicated troublemaker, you know that? Well, if things are as simple as that, then all would be solved. However, there was yet another visitor to my room, and this is where it gets complicated. There's another? Visitor, sir? Yes, and the other person's objective was to steal something from me. Also. Now then, even after Mr. Portsman left, the door to my office remained unlocked. However, this new visitor had no way of knowing that, and so they stole the master key from the security guard's room. And then entered my room and searched through my shelves. This was the second time they were disturbed, and it seems that the thief found their prize. They stole 0 file, right, sir? Correct. Only just as the thief was about to leave the file, I appeared. The thief then threatened me with their own gun and made their escape. The second bullet was fired during the brief encounter. So the shelf getting messed up twice in the 2 bullets. It was all because 2 different people were doing those things at 2 different times. Precisely. And now do you see, Mr. Portsman? The person I met with is just a thief, and not in fact Mr. Faith's killer. Your alibi for this time frame in which I ran into the other person is now irrelevant. Because we now know the murder took place during the first culprit's visit. Objection! What's so funny, pal? Absolutely splendid. Your scenario explains everything. Of course it does. It's Mr. Edgeworth, after all. But you know, it still doesn't change the fact that it's all circumstantial. Supposing if, and that's a big if, your theory is right. It would indeed render my alibi, which has withstood scrutiny, mind you, irrelevant. But there is still one defining point of your argument for which you have no evidence. Your supposition that I was the first visitor. Mr. Edgeworth, you can't let him get away with this, sir. But he has a point. I have absolutely no proof at this point. Don't say that, sir. I don't believe this. Don't worry, Maggie. I'll do something if I must. You know something? I find your attitude to be somewhat peculiar, Mr. Edgeworth. If the person you met really was a plain old thief, then why is that person not your main suspect? That is, if your theory is correct. The thief ran into should be a real suspect, wouldn't you say? We should be out there looking for that thief right now. It might still be nearby. Hate to repeat myself, but I've already said I was training in my room. When Jim came to deliver... Oh gosh. It's not the right button. Where I turn up the sound. When I came to deliver some evidence to me, I was down in criminal affairs. So I can't be expected to know what's happened around here after I left. So you think we should be out there looking for the thief? Of course! Now isn't it time we'd be wasting time on dead-on discussions? I don't think it's all that dead-ended. I find your alibi to be fascinating. Let's continue where we left off, shall we? I know he's lying. I know he was there at the scene of the crime. I just have to find a way to prove it. In fact, I think I have one lead. That thief you ran into should be your real suspect, wouldn't you say? Actually, no, I wouldn't. Why not? That's elementary. The dying message, of course. Mr. Fate's killer very clearly left those letters on the spines of the files. And it was after they were on there that the thief stole one of them. You mean the 0 files, right? And that's how we also know the letters themselves were a setup, and not from Mr. Faith. If the thief was the killer, do you think they would try to undermine themselves? Duh! Maybe the killer just didn't think of that either. That must be it. Maybe, just maybe. Then we should also be out there looking out for the thief right now. They might still be nearby. Once escaped, I highly doubt a thief would linger nearby. Well, you never know. Maybe they didn't get what they were really after. Oh? You talk like you know quite a bit about this thief. Well, it's nothing like that. I have no idea about anything, after all. I hate to repeat myself, but I've already said I was training in my room! But according to Mr. Faith's note... Hold on, I thought we already cleared that up? Didn't we say that Jim left a note for me in the early evening? If we have proof of that he left at a different time, say just before he was murdered... I don't have any... no. See? So I insist again that it was my office the entire time. And when Jim came to deliver some evidence to me, I was down in criminal affairs. Why didn't you go there with Mr. Faith? It's because he said he was tired and going to take a quick nap. You know, those sofas in the hallway? He likes to sleep on those. It's one of his habits. And what of the evidence he brought? There are things related to yesterday's case. Just 2 items, a gun and a pendant. Interesting. A piece of testimony seems too crucial to slip by through the cracks. He brought me 2 items, a gun and a pendant. They're related to yesterday's case. Hold it! A gun and a pendant? Yeah, this gun, which was the murder weapon, and this pendant, which belonged to the victim. And why were you taking them to criminal affairs? There was something in the past case file I wanted to compare those two to. But all this has nothing to do with the case right now. Anyway, I believe you'll find a long paper trail if I left to be your satisfaction. This is all matching up with the detective gumshoe found out. So I can't be expected to know what happened around here after I left. Actually, there's a problem with that. Only 2 pieces? I believe the proper phrase here is, you fail. Excuse me? You fail as a prosecutor, Mr. Portsman, as you intend to keep evidence hidden from me. What are you talking about? I haven't hidden anything from you. Well, here's a piece I think you should read carefully. It says Mr. Faith bring 3 pieces. Yes. And this is the victim's real dying message to you, Mr. Portsman. I can't believe I got tripped up by simple arithmetic. Where is the missing piece of evidence? It's... You have it, don't you? Only the guilty would make such a face. Detective Gumshoe! You don't have to say it, sir. I'll pat the guy down from head to toe. Don't come any closer! I'm warning you! This is all part of the investigation, pal! So don't even think about stopping me. No! Hey! What's this? You have this on him, sir. Despite what you said, it would appear that you do have something to hide. Why'd he hide something like that? There's only one reason why anyone would hide evidence of this caliber. Because it would unequivocally prove the point that the person himself is the real killer. Let's examine this videotape in a little more detail. For the section of the tape that will drive the last nail into this coffin. Blood. That's blood, isn't it? Yes, I believe this is what a good prosecutor was trying to hide from us. This blood is still fresh. You mean this might be Detective Faith's blood? No, you got it all wrong. No amount of denial can save you. We have but to run a blood test to find the truth. You told us that you had received evidence from the victim earlier. Now you will tell us when and how did the victim's blood find its way out of this video? Yeah, totally suspicious. Was it the moment of his death? Did Detective Faith have this videotape on his person when you killed him? You know very well there's no way to prove that! Not even if we were to examine this tape for fingerprints? If I had to take a guess, I'd say that the only ones here who would belong to the murder is you and Mr. Faith. No! Impossible! Oh. Well, that was clear cut. Sportsman's been placed under arrest for the murder of Detective Buddy Faith, sir. Very good. And the results we got back from the lab techs on the tape turned out to be real solid, sir. Blood work came back and we definitely Mr. Faith's blood on there. As a bonus, they were able to lift a few of Mr. Faith's fingerprints as well. Thank you very so much, Mr. Edgeworth. I still can't believe I got to see your cool deduction skills outside the courtroom. I'm impressed beyond words, sir. There's nothing. I'm just sorry you got caught up in my murder in my office. Please accept my apologies. That was nothing. Really, compared to what I've been through, I mean. I consider myself lucky that I was only a burglar. It was only a burglary and a murder at this time. If it had been a hold-up or a hostage situation, I'd have thrown my hands up in the air. The thing I'm finally rising up from the goddess misfortunes is just an unlucky person. Something tells me we should have hired a different person in the security detail. You know something, sir? That Mr. Portsman really was one corrupt prosecutor. And why would you go to say he was corrupt? Well, I heard that there were a number of suspicious things related to his court cases. And there's even rumors about how some of the evidence he uses is forged, sir. Forged evidence, huh? They say he decided not to prosecute a few cases for some really vague reasons. Well, that guy's a complete disgrace to the entire profession. We never did get around to asking what his reason was for breaking into my office. Yeah, whenever we got near the topic, he just claimed up. Although we can be pretty certain that it was to steal something. Just between you and me, sir, but there's a rumor that some sort of huge organization is involved behind the scenes. Oh, well. With Mr. Portsman not willing to divulge anything, it certainly lends credence to that rumor. It would seem that we haven't heard the last of this. Huh? And Mr. Portman isn't the bad guy? I didn't say that, but rather, there are still so many more mysteries for us to solve. For example, we still haven't figured out the significance of this piece of evidence. We still haven't discovered the file. Take that! The person who stole this file, the other villain of that night. Yeah, I wonder who it was. And what had happened to the stolen pages. I wonder, who in the world was it that held me up at gunpoint? Mr. Edgeworth, sir! Yes? I came across this while I was processing your office earlier, sir. This card. What is it, sir? Is it a bird or something on there? It's not just any bird. It's the mark of the raven. A three-legged raven. Even you should know what this is, detective. It's about that thing, isn't it? The great thief everyone's talking about. Yes, it is the mark of the great thief Yatakorasu. Under the mark of the legendary bird, the Yatakorasu is noble to the end. A modern Robin Hood. Labeled mysterious and phantom-like, the Yatakorasu appears and vanishes at will. Even though we still don't know much about the thief's ultimate goal, we do know the targets. Yatagarasu likes to find and make public evidence and corrupt dealings of all sorts. The theft is always performed in silence, and always with perfection. Once a target is chosen, no dramatic calling card or announcement is sent forth. Instead, the chosen corporation is infiltrated without even the target noticing. Some days later, the evidence that was found is sent out to the mass media, along with a single card. Although it has been a while since Yatakarasu's last appearance. Mr. Edgeworth, look, something's written on the back. What? Let me see. It's the location of where the thief put the stolen files. The person who stole the contents of the file was Yatagarasu. Yatagarasu. Organization. Quite a few keywords are popping up in this mystery. The murder in my office. The return of the great thief Yatagarasu. Looking back, I can't say I didn't see these events coming. For they were heralded by the incidents that began to occur 2 days ago. And that's that. Right, that's it for the first case of Miles Edgeworth, Ace Attorney Investigations on Luigi Van 64D, and I will see you in the next case chapter. Yes, I'm looking forward to Ace Attorney Investigations for a long time now. It's one of my more favorite of the series, and I just love the gameplay. It's so cool to finally play as Edgeworth. If only there was a Francisco Von Karma game series. And then again, I think it'd be more of a hack and slash beat 'em up when I think about it. Huh. Well, this is for D. This has been Ace Attorney Miles Edgeworth Investigations. Except he's a prosecutor, whatever. It could be pro prosecutor, whatever. See you next time.